With Salah and Son both on international duty, Haaland potentially still not available for game week 21, and Bowen and Solanke both picking up knocks in the FA Cup, I thought I'd put together the ultimate wildcard for game week 21. Before we get into the wildcard team, we are super close to hitting 3,000 subscribers, so if you want to help me and the channel out, do be sure to hit that subscribe button, like the video as well if you do enjoy it, and if you've got any questions, comment down below. Right, let's start off in goal. We are going to go for the second highest scoring goalkeeper in the game at the moment. It is Areola. He's kind of had like a bit of a mad fairy tale character arc development over the past few game weeks, hasn't he? Picking up, you know, some mega scores over the past 3 game weeks. Sheffield United away up next for him, then Bournemouth, then United and Arsenal, Nottingham Forest, Brentford and Everton. So some mixed fixtures in there coming up for him, but I'm kind of leaning more towards the fact, and I said this in my last wildcard video, I think I'm just going to pick one goalkeeper, just stick with them, play them every single week, and just hope for the best, because trying to rotate goalkeepers, it just doesn't work. Trying to play the fixtures, especially with the low probability of clean sheets kind of kicking about at the moment in the Premier League and in other foreign leagues as general, with more kind of in-play time with the ball and more actual game time as well, with, you know, referees picking up on time wasting and injuries and stuff like that. I think in like the trend of football, we're going to see a lot less clean sheets. So I think for FPL, just picking a solid goalkeeper who plays for an alright team, he's going to make save points, potentially going to pick up bonus, and occasionally, you know, will have a good fixture. I think that's probably the better way to go. So we've got Areola. We've also got Turner, who seems to be the number one again for Nottingham Forest. They've got Brentford away this week. Again, quite a good fixture, but you're still probably going to play Areola against Sheffield United as well. Moving into the back line, we're going to start off with Trent Alexander-Arnold. Obviously picked up 0 points in game week 20, but before that was absolutely cooking, ladies and gentlemen. He was on fire picking up points. I brought him in game week 20, so I'm going to put myself down as the curse for that. But with us having a lot of money, kind of disposable kind of FPL income, if you like, in the game at the moment, with both Salah and Son off on international duty, I think potentially investing in Trent Alexander-Arnold could be a good way to kind of utilise this money. Last season, well, the whole of 2023, he did pick up 6 double-digit hauls. There's not too many defenders who can say that indeed, and he is one of the best on his day as well, and he looks brilliant for Liverpool at the moment. So I do think with some, you know, mixed fixtures coming up, I definitely think he will be a player I'm going to keep in my team for a couple more weeks, see how he gets on, but I definitely think there might be a slight potential of a few more double-digit hauls. Right, let's move on to our next defender, and it's going to be Estupinian. He is officially back and officially starting to cook. Scored in game week 20 and then scored in the FA Cup with a 4-2 win for Brighton over Millwall at the weekend. Again, another fantastic goal, and if you look at the fixtures coming up for Brighton, Wolves, Luton, Crystal Palace, Tottenham, Sheffield United, Everton and Fulham. No European football to worry about for a couple of weeks as well. I absolutely love Estupinian, as I imagine a lot of people do. A lot of fond memories from last season and at the start of this season as well, when he was absolutely cooking. He would be one of the kind of go-to enjoyable players, potential little bit of a differential that I would go for on my wildcard. He could absolutely explode with some positive fixtures coming up for Brighton. We've seen it already in glimpses so far. He loves a goal, loves an attacking threat as well, you know, an attacking return, sorry. So just a great player to have in your game week 21 wildcard. Moving on to our next defender, a little bit controversial this one. It is going to be Colwell. I think Ped Porro is also a great shout, but I didn't want to put too much kind of money and funds into the back line. Again, Ped Porro absolutely slapping it. Spurs with some really good fixtures, but we've gone for a nice cheap option in Colwell. We've also got Konza on the bench as well. Aston Villa have some really nice fixtures coming up as well after the Everton and Newcastle ones. Sheffield United, Manchester United, Fulham, Nottingham Forest and Luton. So plenty of games you can play them in there. Some mixed ones for Chelsea coming up as well. Fulham, Liverpool, Wolves, Crystal Palace, City, Tottenham, Brentford. Again, I think those two rotate extremely nicely well with each other. yes, Chelsea aren't like the best team in terms of defensive data and in terms of actually keeping clean sheets as well. But I think as the kind of new, the two 4.5 million options that are just going to rotate with each other each week, and then when their fixtures do completely tank off, you can replace them. I think these two are just a great set to have, to be honest, Colwell and Konza. Right, let's move on into the midfield. We're going to start off with Bukayo Saka. I feel quite a controversial pick, and I feel he's actually quite lucky to be in this team, to be honest, because I feel if, the players like Bowen and maybe Jota started this game week, I don't think Saka would be making it into my wildcard team. Bowen would be the choice that I would go for, but with him being potentially out for game week 21, and we're not going to get a David Moyes press conference, I think it's just worth going safe, going with Saka. He's got two nice fixtures next, Crystal Palace and Nottingham Forest. He keeps the money in the midfield as well for when you want to go and get Son and Salah back as well. Only 2 goals in his past 12 games, but he's been a little bit steady. He's still in the top 10 players, 4 points scored, and the top 5 midfielders as well this season, 4 points scored. So, people are criticising him, but he's still picking up points consistently over, the weeks gone by. I just think it's because he's not kind of potentially justifying his price point with any mega hauls, but still a very solid, safe pick. I feel like if the options were still there, maybe like Elise, Bowen, I think Saka potentially could make way for him. Maybe even Diego Jota if you do fancy maybe having a little bit of a gamble and a little bit of fun. But I think if you wanted to go for that safe, secure option, I think Saka's probably the right pick. Right, moving on to the exciting one that I would be absolutely gagging to get into my team if I was on the wildcard for 21. It would be Kevin De Bruyne. Obviously came back from injury, played around 30 to 40 minutes for Manchester City today, so good kind of length of time as well. Shows that, Pep Guardiola does feel comfortable potentially playing him. I think as well, looking at the team and kind of the players that are available for this game week, could offer himself up as a potential captain. I think Phil Foden is also a great shout as well. He's been doing super well. Picked up a brace in the FA Cup game that KDB also picked up an assist in. So he could be an option. I think he will play, but I just fancy KDB that little bit more. There's something about him, having owned him for a few seasons, and, the Wolves game in particular 3 seasons ago when he was my captain. I've just got fond memories. Newcastle away, they are top for XG conceded. So I think this could be a great little pick and potentially a captain option. Moving on to another captain option, and it's going to be Cole Palmer. They've got Fulham up next. Some strong fixtures, like I said, with Colwell kind of mixed in, but I think Cole Palmer is a very easy hold for the remainder of the season. On penalties, dirt cheap at 5.6 million as well, playing every single kind of available minute at the moment as well, and is Chelsea's just key danger man as well for me. So I don't think too much needs to kind of be said on that or justify why he is in this team. One man that's probably going to take a little bit more justification, and it is going to be Richarlison. Now, obviously, the form and the kind of the way that he's been playing and the fixtures for Spurs, they're all good. He's got 5 goals in his last 6 appearances. The fixtures for Spurs are good up until game week 32 or 33, so a very easy hold. The only problem is, Spurs have signed Timo Werner. He's probably going to play up front or out wide, potentially maybe limiting Richarlison's minutes. He's already coming off in the 60th and 70th minute already. The only kind of upside I think we are going to get out of Richarlison for the next few weeks is he probably is going to be on penalties with Son off to the Asian Cup. Again, very similar to Saka. I do feel if the likes of Bowen was fit and Jota started this game, I would be much more inclined to potentially, have a little bit of a gamble, maybe go on one of those other players rather than going for Saka and Richarlison. But he is a man in form. I can't see him being dropped by Postecoglou, but I think with Werner there, and then when Son comes back, he potentially could see his minutes even further reduced and see some potential benchings as well. Right, let's move on to our front line. We're going to start off with Julian Alvarez. Obviously, Haaland, still a little bit of a gamble. Hopefully, we might get some early team news, but with the game week 21 deadline being moved to the Friday, I do feel that is a little little bit less likely, to be honest. I feel with the Saturday early kickoff one, it probably was a little bit more likely we were going to get something. There's very reliable team leaks, but now it's moved to the Friday. I think it's a little bit more dubious, and I think Alvarez would just be the very safe pick to go for. I actually personally think if Haaland isn't fully fit and available, I don't think Pep's going to risk him, because realistically, they get a weekend off after this, then it's the FA Cup, then back into Premier League action. So he might just want to give him this weekend off, make sure that he's fully fit and firing, ready for the back end of the season. But Julian Alvarez, great player, again, was on the score sheet and picked up an assist as well in today's FA Cup game. Speaking of players doing extremely well in FA Cup matches, it's going to be João Pedro, a brace for him. I included him in the last Game Week 21 wildcard I did last weekend, obviously before we had kind of all this information, injuries, new updates as well, and people laughed at me. But with this strong fixture run coming up for Brighton, him now bagging goals as well, being very prolific and on penalties, and at a dirt cheap 5.4 million, I think this could be a great enabler, you know, to keep the money around, to get KDB in, to get players like Trent in, and then have the money as well to go and get Haaland for Alvarez next week in Game Week 22, if he is available for that game week, which I would imagine he would be. Great enabler, great fixtures on penalties, and doing extremely well at the moment. Right, finishing up our lineup, it's going to be Ollie Watkins. He's the final forward that we're going to have kind of in this Game Week 21 wildcard. I think he is the best kind of, well, not the best, the second best forward in the game. Some really, really strong fixtures coming up for Aston Villa. Everton, who are in kind of all sorts of form. Newcastle, who are bottom for XG conceded. Sheffield United, Manchester United, again, not really in great form. Fulham, Nottingham Forest and Luton. An absolutely sublime run for him and Aston Villa. I can definitely see him picking up some strong points in there. Obviously not been, you know, overly, well, impressive, I think it's probably the right way to say it. He's just been steady, picking up 3 attacking returns in the past 5 game weeks, but compared to other forwards, it's not too shabby, is it? It's not too shabby when you compare him to the likes of Darwin and, you know, Jackson and other players like that. I think he's just a very steady pick, plays a lot of minutes for Aston Villa, really good fixtures coming up as well, and Villa are absolutely killing it at the moment. Right, before we finish up, let's have a quick run through of the bench. We spoke about Turner, we've gone for Garnacho, there's some good fixtures coming up for Manchester United, Tottenham in Game Week 21, not the best, but then it's Wolves, West Ham, Villa probably not, and then Luton, Fulham. So some very good fixtures in there. 4.9 million he's at now. Again, allows us to do a lot of cool things. And then when the likes of Salah, Son and that are back, it's very easy to get them in without having to kind of sacrifice too many other players. Ezri Konsa, again, we kind of briefly already touched on him. And then the final defender is Branthwaite. We've gone for a cheap option. I usually go for Charlie Taylor, but he's been flagged, picked up an injury in the FA Cup fixture for them. So we'll probably get news if Charlie's available. He's my favourite one to go for, but Branthwaite's a very good second option as well. If you did enjoy today's video, be sure to like, comment and subscribe. If you've got any questions about your team, maybe you're activating that wildcard button, get them in the comment section below. But thank you very much for watching today, ladies and gentlemen, and good luck this game week.